And welcome into another episode of the 415ers here on Audacy, brought to you by 95.7 The Game. Mark Randy with you. Evan Giddings, my co-host, so hear from him in a little bit. But right now we have a special guest to welcome on. It is Tyler Vasquez of the Kickoff in the Valley podcast, dedicated to all things Arizona Cardinals. And of course, it's 49ers and Cardinals down in Mexico City. And Tyler, in fact, is in Mexico City as we record this right now. Tyler, first of all, thank you so much for taking out some time. Welcome to the 415ers. How is Mexico City treating you?
Fantastic. I got to do some recon work down here. I don't know, about 3 weeks ago. And it each time it's better and better. So it's nice down here south of the border.
Awesome. Should be a really fun game on Monday. Again, it's Monday Night Football, 49ers and Cardinals, part of the NFL's International Series down there in Mexico City. Really looking forward to that game. It's a really important matchup for both teams. They're not sitting. Neither team is sitting first place in the division right now because the Seattle Seahawks are the surprise of the NFL. But both teams coming off of really important wins. The Cardinals, of course, beat the Rams last week on the road in the battle of backup quarterbacks. I guess my first question for you is the injury report, because you were without Kyler Murray last week. I know your tight end Zach Ertz is now going to be out for a while as well. Just give us in San Francisco an update on the health and who may or may not play for the Cardinals come Monday night.
Yeah, the Cardinals aren't healthy at all. I mean, that's the problem offensively for us. I mean, for you guys, your defense, one of the top defenses in the NFL, is going to be licking its chops, much like I think Aaron Donald and the Rams were last Sunday. Yeah. I think the beauty was, and I think the number was like 2.1 second release time from Colt McCoy on Sunday. He's going to have to do that again if he's the starter, and I think he might be, because everything coming from Kliff Kingsbury, he keeps everything to the vest a little bit. Yeah. And so he said, well, we don't want Kyler to play unless he's 100%. We want him to be able to do everything that makes him special, be able to run the ball, be able to, when a play breaks down, be able to scramble and do what he does. With that being said, that leads me to believe that's coach speak for, well, Colt played really well, so there's no sense in rushing Kyler back. Let's just roll Colt out again. I believe, if I remember right, Colt McCoy beat you guys last year. Mm-hmm. He's had, Colt's looked good when he's played for this team. So, I don't know if you caught Hard Knocks yesterday, but you could see the leadership coming from Colt McCoy. And when it comes to, like you said, injuries, that offensive line is pretty brutal at this point. I would hope you see DJ Humphries back. I didn't get to see the injury report that came out. I saw one came out about an hour ago, but I didn't get to look at it because I've been traveling. But if he's healthy, that will at least help you on the bookends, because you'll beat him and you'll have Humphries back. But other than that, your guard, center guard, no matter what, those guys aren't coming back. So you're playing with a bunch of backups in the interior offensive line. So that'll be interesting. The one positive note is Hollywood Brown did return to practice today, and he looked good. I think he's going to play Monday. So wow. They did designate him to come back, and he made a huge difference. But we've yet to see the Hopkins, Rondale Moore, and Hollywood Brown kind of triple three-headed offense, right? Like, we're waiting to see those receivers, because all three of them are special for their own ways. So
yeah, I'm looking at the injury report right now that you're talking about. Budda Baker, DeAndre Hopkins, DJ Humphries, Byron Murphy all did not practice on Thursday for Arizona. Also, Max Garcia, Marcus Golden, and then Colt McCoy and Kyler Murray, they were all limited in practice. So those are some of the big names there. But on the flip side, for the 49ers, their entire starting defensive line didn't practice. For Nick Bosa, it was just a rest day and not a big deal. But Eric Armstead did not practice. Samson Ebukam didn't practice. Javon Kinlaw's on IR. He's not even traveling with the team at the moment. So it could be maybe a battered offensive line against a battered defensive line. But
we'd appreciate that.
when the Niners defensive line is healthy, they're tough to handle even for a healthy offensive line. But in relation to the quarterback, you mentioned Colt McCoy. He's played well when he has gotten, the opportunity for the Cardinals. How might the offense potentially look different if it is Kyler Murray or if it's Colt McCoy? What different things do they bring, and how might the Niners be challenged in different ways depending on who's quarterbacking the Cardinals?
Well, what we noticed on Sunday was Colt McCoy, he'll play under center more than Kyler does. Kyler takes 80 to 90% of the snaps out of the shotgun. So you'll see Colt, he'll look for his reads right away as he gets up to that line, and then he's getting the ball out quick. So that's a real big difference, because when Kyler gets it, he's surveying, hey, if something breaks down, I'm going to run for it. So it's a little bit longer of a time of possession at that point to get the ball out. So I think the offense moves quicker, surprisingly enough, with Colt McCoy back there, just because he's trying to get it out quick, because he also knows what's in front of him offensive line-wise. So I think they'll go to the run a lot as well with Colt, where they don't usually do that with Kyler Murray. I mean, we like to see when the Cardinals are successful, there's a good run-pass balance, which means they're getting James Conner involved, but they haven't done that this year. They've struggled on offense. Yeah. So I would believe that Kyler's not going to play, just based on everything that Kliff kind of says. So that tells me it's going to be Colt. So I would think you're going to have a more balanced called game. Maybe not as many screen plays. That's been the one thing everyone's calling him Kliff Kingsbury, as he calls about 100 when Kyler's in the game. So I would think if Colt's going, which is what I anticipate, they're going to be passing down the field, which if they pass down the field, it'll make it a very interesting game, because that's what they haven't done this year. They've gone left to right and not north, east and west, not north and south. So them going north and south is going to create some problems for the Niners. If they run the same game plan they had Sunday, I think we're in for a really good game Monday.
So you mentioned the run game. Potentially that's more of a factor if it's Colt McCoy as the starting quarterback, James Conner and everyone else. I have to ask, because this is, one of the fresher pieces of news, the Eno Benjamin cut, release. He was claimed by the Texans. He's obviously, a backup running back going into the season, had some success filling in and really did a good job when James Conner was down. What's the reasoning behind the Cardinals cutting Eno Benjamin? What went into that decision?
So I've kind of pieced together this from about 4 or 5 beat writers that have some sources and things like that. When I piece everyone's story together, put a little puzzle together, it basically sounds like Saturday night after their meetings before the Rams on Sunday, they called Eno and said, hey, you're not going to be that active in the game on Sunday, which ended up being the case. I want to say James Conner, I think he had 21 carries. Eno had played 1 snap. And Keontae Ingram, the rookie that they drafted this year, got 5 snaps. So, I mean, you go from Eno being the lead dog while James Conner was out and doing really well. I mean, he averaged about 5 yards a carry when James was out, to now telling him, oh, James is back, you're not going to do anything. And apparently the assistant coach told him this after their study session, and he wasn't happy about it. And then Sunday during the game, he doesn't get much run. And apparently he was pretty vocal about being upset. And it's just one of those things, when the team gets a big win that they need, it's probably their first complete game they've had all season. Do you want to be the guy that's pouting on the sidelines when your team just won? I mean, that's probably not the look that this team wants, right? When we look at Seattle Seahawks and their success, they're doing it all around being a team and not caring about that me, myself, and I. And I think the vibe that's coming out of the stories is that Eno had a very me, myself, I attitude in that situation. Now, the thing is, if you've been watching HBO Hard Knocks, it wasn't on episode 2, but I did just see that the producer, he was on another podcast the other day or last night after the show, and he said the Eno everything, the shocking Eno situation as it unfolds is going to be in episode 3. Okay. So this upcoming Wednesday, you're going to get to see why Eno was released.
We'll keep an eye out for that for sure. You kind of mentioning those vibes. One of the bigger stories around the Cardinals this year, at least watching from afar, has kind of been, Kliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray butting heads, play calling, all that sort of thing. From outside, our listeners here in San Francisco, outside observers of the Cardinals, what has that relationship been like this year? What have been those pressure points, and how are they getting through it as they try to turn their season around here, as we're basically in the middle point of the year?
I mean, this will make you guys happy just for the long-term future, but I don't see that getting any better. I mean, they're not meshing. They have a long-standing history. What I kind of compare it to is, do you remember the Catch Me Outside girl with Dr. Phil, right? Where she was kind of like bullying her mom. I kind of treat this as like a bad teenager fighting and kind of running over the parent. And in some ways for fans, it's like, oh, then Kyler Murray, he's terrible. I hate Kyler. He's, you shouldn't treat someone like that. Yeah. But you also hired Kliff to be a leader of men too. And Kliff pretty much, the vibe I get is that he single-handedly picked Kyler. I mean, you saw him in a Texas Tech video saying if he had the choice, he would have picked Kyler Murray number 1 in the draft, and then he gets the job, and guess what? He picks Kyler Murray number 1 in the draft. So they have history, and you hired him. I mean, no one can convince me that this didn't happen. You hired Kliff Kingsbury knowing that you were at that point going to take Kyler Murray, and it was a package deal. So the fact that they're not meshing, I mean, this doesn't seem like it was something the past couple of years, but it does seem like maybe it was something and now it's boiling over. And I don't think it's going to get better. And honestly, what I think it comes down to, and here's the thing, it's no surprise to the ownership or the GM. All my people that I know within the organization have told me they know Kyler they would like Kyler to be a better leader, a better, grown up, more mature, a little bit more. It's no secret. But with the investment they made in Kyler Murray, it's at this point where if this continues and if this season doesn't get better, and starting with Monday, they need to win Monday to keep playoff hopes alive. If they don't keep this train rolling, and at some point, they may win Monday with Colt McCoy, but they got to start winning with Kyler Murray again and getting this fixed. So if that doesn't happen, then I could see Kliff Kingsbury being fired at some point this year, probably at the end of the season. And my thought is they would bring someone in that they think can get the maturity out of Kyler Murray.
Interesting. Certainly something to keep an eye on as the season goes along. We're catching up with Tyler Vasquez of Audacy's Kickoff in the Valley podcast, dedicated to all things Arizona Cardinals, ahead of the Monday night game down in Mexico City between the Niners and the Cardinals. Tyler, a couple more questions here for you. We talked earlier about Zach Ertz, that injury, but potentially getting Hollywood Brown back. What does this offense look like without Zach Ertz? It's already been relatively DeAndre Hopkins centric ever since his return from suspension. How do they, spread the ball out a little bit, get it away from DeAndre Hopkins? Because that's certainly who the Niners will be focusing on. Obviously, the Hollywood Brown injury factors in there, but how does this offense maybe look a little bit more versatile, considering they lose another weapon, but maybe they have another one coming back?
Yeah, that's the thing. They haven't had the cornerstones of what this offense is supposed to be all season long. Hopkins had a 6-game suspension to start the year. When he's a week before coming back and literally on the cusp of coming back, Hollywood Brown rolls his ankle and is now gone for 4 weeks. So, when we look at this offense now and you look at Zach Ertz, during that time of DeAndre Hopkins being out, Zach Ertz was a safety valve along with Hollywood Brown. They were the 2 favorite targets for Kyler Murray. So what I will say is when Colt McCoy, and I want to speak in terms of, okay, who's probably playing Monday? If Colt McCoy is playing Monday, he spreads the ball a lot more. So, he got AJ Green involved, which we thought he was all but dead. Like, I didn't think he was ever going to play a down in a Cardinals uniform again. So, Colt McCoy got him involved. He had Rondale Moore involved. He had Hopkins involved. He was moving the ball around. Now, with Zach Ertz out, the Cardinals did draft in the 2nd round Trey McBride. He was the number 1 touted tight end in the draft. He's one of the most hyped tight ends. Him and Kyle Pitts in the last few years, right? Like those are the top 2 guys over the past few years when it comes to the tight end. We haven't seen much from Trey. We've seen him more as like a blocker, which that's not his skill set. He's a pass catching tight end. So I'm excited, to be honest. I don't like to see a guy get hurt, especially a guy of Zach Ertz's, not just caliber, but also just his just the person he is, right? Zach Ertz is a great guy. He's a leader. He's a guy you want on that field. So, but I am excited to see the Cardinals kind of force Trey McBride to be in that role because he's a guy that they want him to be kind of the Dallas Goedert to Zach Ertz was in Philly. They're seeing that Trey McBride is going to eventually take that job. So, this offense is going to be, there's a lot of like this offense. When you look at it right now, it's been bad. And I don't know if could be the coach, it could be the quarterback, but whatever you want, it could be all the injuries. But at the end of the day, when you look at the skilled players, the wide receivers, the running backs, like this offense is a top offense in the NFL when it's clicking. It just hasn't been clicking yet. And so for the Niners' sake, hopefully it doesn't start clicking again on Monday with Colt McCoy as quarterback.
Yeah. Last question, and then I want to get game predictions out of you if you're able to. This is a defense in the Cardinals who have really, really struggled to stop opposing tight ends. I think the worst in the NFL in regards to stopping opposing tight ends. George Kittle's kind of had a hot and cold season. A lot of Niner fans here clamoring, get the ball to George Kittle more, get the ball to George Kittle more, and it seemingly hasn't happened. What's the issue there with the Cardinals defense, specifically around those tight ends? And could this maybe be a game where we see George Kittle maybe have the game of the season so far for him?
Yeah, you got him in fantasy. Load him up because the Cardinals, for the better part of the past few years, have not been able to stop tight ends. They drafted Isaiah Simmons to solve that problem. Well, it hasn't been solved. So Isaiah Simmons has been playing great week after week, but the tight end's still getting theirs. Higbee had a great day on Sunday. I'm trying to think who when we played the Saints, what's his name? Juwan Johnson, I think it is. He had a day. I mean, you name the tight end, and they're pretty successful going against the Cardinals. So this will be a get right game for Kittle as long as Garoppolo can listen. I said it on our preview show when we started the season. I said, one, Garoppolo will be the quarterback by the time the Cardinals play the Niners. I didn't know it was because Trey Lance would get, I did say it could be. I said, with how much he runs, he'll probably get hurt, or they'll just, they'll do what they did last year. They'll turn to Garoppolo to get some wins. And, but ultimately, you guys have been a little different to me, like in the sense of I expected Garoppolo to have more success with Deebo Samuel, Ayuk, and Kittle. Like I was thinking there'd be some more touchdowns, things like that. Adding McCaffrey. Obviously, it seems like you guys have been better since adding McCaffrey, still moving the ball, but Garoppolo hasn't had that touchdown success, right? Yeah. And so this secondary's played pretty well. So as long as Byron Murphy plays, Marco Wilson's totally stepped up. Hamilton's played better. So I would think it's going to be an interesting game Sunday or Monday when it comes to our defense, who's really outperformed what we expected against this offense, which I would kind of say is struggling to a degree. Like they're a good offense, but they're not what I was expecting this to be a pretty top offense of the NFL. Oh, yeah. I don't know how you feel about it, but
well, yeah, they're moving the ball well, but they're struggling in the red zone for sure. All right, this is Tyler Vasquez of Audacy's Kickoff in the Valley podcast, covering all things Arizona Cardinals. Again, we're getting ready for Monday Night Football in Mexico City between the Niners and the Cardinals. Last thing, Tyler, we really appreciate your time. Let's get some game predictions as we record this right now. San Francisco are 8-point favorites. The over/under set at 43.5. Not asking you to make picks there against the spread or on the total. But, who do you think wins this game? For me, I think the Niners come out on top, but it is a one-possession game. I'll go 27-20 49ers over the Cardinals in Mexico City. What say you?
Matt Prater's back, so we're not missing any extra points. I'm going to say, I can't pick against the Cardinals, but I should. I mean, listen, I think Colt McCoy playing gives us a real shot. And so I'll go 27-21. Okay. Just to, I don't know, shake it up a little bit. Why not? But Cardinals.
All right. 27-21 Cardinals. We'll see. It should be a really fun Monday Night Football game in Mexico City. Tyler Vasquez, really appreciate your time and enjoy it down there in Mexico City. We'll have to catch up again and ask you what the environment was like down there, because I'm sure it's going to be insane.
That's right. Viva.
All right. Thanks so much, Tyler.
Thanks, Mark.